Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep Final Makes playthrough. Good lord, that title is so incredibly long. It's the one thing about the Kingdom Hearts franchise, all the titles, ludicrously long. I mean, I think probably the worst ones are the Kingdom Hearts 1.5 plus 2.5 HD Remix, and then also Kingdom Hearts 0.2 Final Chapter Prologue. That's a pretty hefty one. Obviously, you've also got 358 over 2 days, and I'd say, yeah, those are probably the most convoluted. But hey, that's just one of those things that you have to deal with.
The master mentioned. These are the Unversed.
But yes, we are at last introduced to our enemies for the game, the Unversed. Obviously, at this point in the Kingdom Hearts world, Heartless don't really exist yet, because in both Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, the reason that they existed was because they had been ultimately manufactured by Ansem's apprentice, a young man by the name of Xehanort. Very interesting. So, in order to actually have enemies for this game, they had to go for something a little bit different. So they went with these creatures, the Unversed, which, for all intents and purposes, are heartless. They just look a little bit different in terms of the general design, but you pretty much got the same setup in terms of the enemy types. So those green guys are basically your soldiers, the little wriggly thingies are basically your shadows, these guys are basically your big bodies, or large bodies. So not really anything too bad, although these guys are more helpful in the sense of you can hit them from the front, which was always my frustration with large bodies. They're just terrifying. And you will have noticed I got hit quite badly there, because I'm playing on Proud mode, which means that you take double damage, I think it is. So it is a lot more difficult, but if you want that secret ending easier, it's what you have to do.
No, you don't.
Because all you have to do is, I think, get all of the Xehanort reports, which is a lot easier to do than completing the report, or whatever the thing is that has everything in it, like Juni's journal. That's effectively what we need to do, and just no, it's not happening. But yes, one thing I will point out is that throughout the course of this playthrough, I'm effectively trying, where possible, to do one world per one part, because really they are short enough to fit in to a single part. However, there will be situations where that doesn't quite work out. That might be because there's a lot going on in the world, I just have a little bit of a nightmare picking stuff up. I don't know. It might also be that there's multiple command boards hiding around it and all that sort of stuff. So there's definitely 2 worlds that I know of that end up lasting that little bit extra, for Terra's story at least, because that's all I've recorded up to at the point of actually recording this commentary. So it varies. But as we cross the bridge, we're going to get introduced to a certain very famous denizen of the Enchanted Kingdom, or as most people would realise it, the world of Sleeping Beauty. Certainly not one of my favourite Disney films in the world. Basically only has one good song, Once Upon a Dream, but still relatively enjoyable, and I mean it looks gorgeous, so I'll give it that.
What's this? Why aren't you asleep, boy? That fool Slora cast a spell to put everyone in this castle into a deep, deep slumber.
Who are you?
Why, I am Maleficent, as all who dwell in this kingdom would know. Now you must reciprocate the introduction. Who are you?
I'm Terra. What do you know about those monsters? The ones who attacked me.
Now why would I give a thought to creatures so base, so inconsequential?
Well, they are base. That's for sure. Anyway, I'm looking for someone. Ever heard of a man named Xehanort?
That name is not familiar to me. Is he an outsider like yourself? Oh, but wait. I do remember someone leaving the castle.
Tell me, what was he doing there?
I couldn't say. I can only be certain he was not from this kingdom. If you're curious, go see the castle for yourself. There, the entrance is past the bridge.
Thanks.
Perhaps he did speak about imprisoning the light. The light could be so many things. Could he have meant Princess Aurora?
Aurora.
So, yes, one of the things that you'll notice throughout Terra's story is that he seems to have a thing for meeting the villains of a world. And obviously he's already got issues with the darkness, and you can probably tell roughly where this is going. He's going to be constantly faced with the darkness, and it's probably not going to end well for him. Obviously they got the wonderful Suzanne Blakesley to return to voice Maleficent, and she continued absolutely killing it, even though she has very few lines throughout the entirety of this game. But still! One of the things that you just saw introduced there was, I think, my first real use of one of the command styles, which is one of the new things that was added to Birth by Sleep. Also really, really fun. You get into them by using different commands, and what they do is they make your attack sort of more powerful, give you an element sometimes, and just generally they're really awesome. They're effectively your drive gauge, or your drive forms for Birth by Sleep. And while I do miss the drive forms somewhat, I feel that the command styles are a worthy replacement. Considering, you know, we've not really got a world where drive forms need to exist in this game. And yes, look at this big, open, massive throne room. I have a very strong feeling that we're going to experience a boss battle in here at some point. Don't know when, I don't know what is giving me that feeling, but I feel like it's going to happen. Now, something else that I feel I should probably mention is that I am going to be picking up every single chest, and I am going to be picking up every single sticker in the game. Not important that I do so, but I want to feel like I've completed the game in some form, because I'm pretty certain that I'm not going to go for the optional fights in Birth by Sleep. Largely because I know that they are really quite challenging, and there are quite a few of them, because you've got 2 in the sort of regular world of the game, but then also you've got a whole bunch that you can battle in a world called the Mirage Arena. And yeah, I can't quite be dealing with that. So yes, this is an instance of getting a kind of power-up with a D-Link. So we've got Haste, which means you move a lot faster, and for the love of God, with Terra, it's an absolute godsend. I mean, just look at this speed! Like, Terra moves incredibly slowly, and it's why he's definitely my least favourite character in the game to play. Because while he has that extra strength, he is just that bit too slow to be really all that enjoyable. And the other thing is that, on the whole, his story does just end up being quite frustrating. Because since he quite clearly errs more towards the darkness, he doesn't really have enough... I don't really know quite how to phrase it, but a lot of the stuff that he comes up against comes across perhaps more as stupidity than either falling prey to the darkness that's naturally within his own heart, or anything else. Like, I feel that they did that narrative pretty well with Riku in the original Kingdom Hearts, and even in Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, I think they kind of carried that narrative really well. And pretty much throughout the entire franchise, they've done a pretty decent job with Riku's whole shtick of being drawn to the darkness. Whereas, and I think that the reason that that works is because you can sort of understand why that is the case. Whereas I think with Terra, he ends up in situations which most people would look at it and just go, yeah, you're clearly a villain. But then doesn't actually do anything with that. Which is a shame, and I mean, you're about to see a prime example right here.
This feels so familiar.
Lovely Princess Aurora, Sleeping Beauty herself.
Her heart is filled.
It's not going to end well.
Not the slightest touch of darkness. Just the kind of heart I need.
For what?
Imagine with me the most glorious of futures. 7 of the purest hearts, each overflowing with light. When brought together, they grant the power to rule all worlds.
What do you mean?
Why, that key you hold. The Keyblade, is it called?
Where did you learn that name?
That trinket is the only way to obtain the hearts.
No more games. Where is Master Xehanort?
Impudence will get you nowhere, child. If you wish to learn more, you must retrieve the heart of Aurora.
And why would I ever want to do that?
It's not a matter of why, but of will. In your heart, there is darkness just waiting to be awakened.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Perhaps not yet. But I have power over sleep. And I can awaken what's inside you. Then you will be free to be who you truly are.
Remember, the darkness lurks in every heart. Darkness is our foe. Would that we could be rid of it. You must destroy it. Push the darkness down. Give it no quarter in your heart.
Here it is. Just what I've waited for. To think that all he spoke of was and will be true.
What? How did I...
What did I do? What did you do?
You speak as if I pulled some invisible strings. No, you couldn't be further from the truth, child. I simply whispered to the darkness you already held inside.
How could I do this?
Then!
Yes. Now, you want to know where Xehanort went. Well, that I cannot answer. He disappeared into the darkness. But now I know the Keyblade is necessary to gather hearts. Join me. Collect 6 more hearts of pure light. Then we will rule all the worlds together!
You seem to be mixed up.
I'm a peacekeeper, not a tyrant.
For a peacekeeper, you're off to an exceptionally poor start. Remember this. The darkness in your heart cannot be held back by force or strength. Now, my work here is done, as is yours. Wasn't there someone you needed to chase?
Wait! The Unburst. They're gonna bring down the castle. I have to do something.
You do indeed, Terra, considering, you know, you just really messed up and just gave Aurora's heart to Maleficent. You know, she the mistress of all evil. But, hey, I mean, this is exactly what I mean by Terra ends up in situations where clearly you take one look at Maleficent and you just go, yeah, she's evil. I mean, really, you should take one look at Master Xehanort and go, yeah, he's definitely evil. But then I suppose if Master Ericus believed in him, you probably would as well. But then you get to like Maleficent and you just go, mate, seriously, clearly a villain. What did you expect? And then he goes and makes bloody D-links with these guys. Just like, mate, seriously, stop. Anywho, since I'm in here, we are looking at the sticker album. Littered around the worlds, you will find stickers. Hidden sort of roughly everywhere. And you can stick them into your sticker album. And if you have enough stickers, you can get items and you can get all sorts of stuff, really. Which is quite nice and useful. Also, something that's really helpful is with the commands, you can end up with extra abilities on them. So, like our Quick Blitz has the ability Scan, which allows us to see enemy health bars. What you can then do is you can meld commands. You can really only do this if they are around level 3 or higher. So like I can merge my Sliding Dash and my Quick Blitz into a brand new command. And I can attach a crystal to it, which will then allow me to attach an ability to that command. And once you get that command up to its full level, you then get to keep that ability permanently. Which is a very interesting way of doing the ability system. It's definitely better than you had in 358 over 2 days, because that was just cruel, because you had to make the decision between what abilities you wanted to take with you into a battle. Which was not as fun. Then you end up with the recoded method, which was similarly a bit frustrating, but better than 358 over 2 days. This, I feel, is okay, because the game is constantly wanting you to get new commands, so you should really be using crystals whenever you're melding a new command, which in turn means that you are constantly going to be leveling up your commands, which means you're constantly going to be getting new abilities. So really, it works out in the long run. Now, the first boss in Terra Story is not easy. It's really not easy. So what I'm going to do, and what I would certainly recommend you do, is if you're playing in Proud mode, level up quite a bit. I'm not saying anything too ludicrous, like there is no need to get up to, say, level 10 in the Enchanted Dominion. It's not necessary. What you do probably need to think of doing, however, is getting to around level 5, I want to say, and that should do you pretty good for the first fight, because that way you should have a relatively decent amount of health at the end of it, and also just it will have also given you a greater feel for the game in terms of how it all flows, how it works, because you won't have been playing the game for very long at this point. So just getting in that practice of the flow of combat really helps. And I definitely know that having spent so many years away from Birth by Sleep, I needed to gain that bit of practice in again, because it does move at a very different speed to the other Kingdom Hearts games, and because of the way it's structured, characters like Terra are pretty not very helpful, because they move so slowly that they're more likely to get hit, and therefore you need to heal, but at this point the only real healing thing you're going to have is using a potion or a nifty D-Link in order to either fully heal you or to use Aquas and then cure you. Now, since, you know, leveling up to level 5 it's going to take us a while, I thought, you know what I will do, because I don't do this very often, is speed up my grinding. Because I was here for a while, but then I want you to see exactly how much grinding it took, because what's frustrating is that this is really the only corridor you can grind in once you've hit that cutscene, because the boss fight takes place in the throne room. And since it takes place in the throne room, that obviously means that you can't enter the throne room without activating the boss fight. And so you just have to keep going through this corridor again and again and again and again and again, which is great. But I think that one more level should do it, so it's probably going to be another run through this corridor or so. But yes, I am very stubborn when it comes to doing this. It's the whole thing of playing the game on Proud mode, because obviously you take double damage, so you want to be that bit higher level than you would be otherwise, so that you can deal with those difficulties that are going to come ahead of you. It's what I did in Kingdom Hearts 2. I don't think I've ever played the original Kingdom Hearts on Proud, if only because I know that it's actually really, well, it's a much greater challenge than the other Kingdom Hearts games, but also that game, it's relatively easy to unlock the main, like the secret ending on normal, so I'm not as bothered. All the other ones so far, yeah, no, it's a pretty much a Proud exclusive run, but then they did make it easier to do, so swings and roundabouts, really. But yes, here is our boss fight, our very first proper boss fight, the Wheelmaster. And, yeah, quite terrifying, because he can cause a lot of damage very quickly, and he does move about a lot. But thankfully, you know, there's a lot of room here, so it should be a a-okay if you've gotten to around level 5. Because as long as you then make use of your D-links, your shot locks, and so on and so forth, then you should be okay. But I remember when I first played Birth by Sleep, I did not do very well here, and it's because I was under-leveled, and because playing this sort of game on the PSP it was a fun experience, but it wasn't the best, because the only way that you could control the camera was with the LNR buttons, which obviously not helpful. So being able to move the camera around with the right analog stick, absolute godsend. And really, more games that struggled with that need that second analog stick, because moving the camera around without it, oh my god, it's a nightmare.
It's my fault her light was stolen. It was because I was weak. I'm sorry. I'll get your light back. Once I learn to stand up against the darkness. Why would Master Xehanort imprison the light? The purest hearts of light. Do they hold the answer?
Seven pure hearts, each completely void of darkness. Such a search may take some time.
Yeah, about 10 years or so, I think. But yes, that is the Enchanted Dominion beaten. As I said, these worlds are very small in comparison to previous Kingdom Hearts titles. And that's fair enough, it's for a portable console, it makes sense. But the other thing that I'm going to do is, once I have beaten a world, I'm going to go back into it, because I then want to make sure that I have picked up all of the chests and all of the stickers where possible. Some stickers I physically cannot get right now, and you will not be able to get them until you have unlocked 2 specific maneuvers. One of which is obviously quite clearly, in the instance of the one that's in the throne room, high jump of some description. The other one is the air slide, which allows you to dash in midair. And it's frustrating that that's the case, because part of me would like to be able to, you know, fully 100% a world whilst I'm in it, but it's just the way it works, unfortunately. So you just make do. Now, I believe that I do have everything that I can possibly get in here, but what I was looking for, I think, was the prize pods, which are special enemies that appear randomly that give you items which you can use later down the line. But what I did find is something that I don't think I had experienced before, and that is the unversed challenges. So what you'll end up with is a situation like this, where you've got a flame box which will shoot fireballs into the sky, and you've got to prevent them from hitting the ground. Some of these are definitely easier than others. I found this challenge in particular to be pretty easy in the grand scheme of things. Most of the others, yeah, not going to go as well. Let's put it that way. But one of the things that I do really like about, you know, having this chance to return to Birth by Sleep is, one, to experience it in this much better quality. I mean, all of the worlds in the game have been given extra detail, and I mean, just my god, even though this game came out originally on the PSP, it still looks gorgeous. Obviously, maybe a bit blockier than the bigger Kingdom Hearts titles. There is more of a use of default face in cutscenes than the bigger Kingdom Hearts titles, and also later Kingdom Hearts titles, but considering its time, because obviously it came out in 2010, I think it was now. So 8 years ago, this game is 8 years old. But it does just look really, really good, even now. I think it's the joy of Kingdom Hearts' art style that really does just mean that these games, particularly in their HD remix iterations, will last for a very long time because they just look great. And they will, I think, continue to look great. So, that just makes me really happy. And while I don't think that the soundtrack was remastered too much for the HD remix, there were a number of other sort of small changes that were made that are quite nice. Kind of some very minor ones. I mean, I think probably one of the major ones is that I'm pretty sure that the game is upped from 30 frames per second to 60 frames per second, so it plays a lot smoother. I mean, I remember on the original PSP, you had sort of two settings which changed how well it ran. Effectively, you had a sort of boosted performance mode that you could turn on if you wanted to deal with the quicker battery consumption, which I think worked, but there was still slowdown, whereas pretty much I've not really experienced any slowdown in the HD remix so far anyway. So it's definitely a marked improvement, and it does just play really smoothly. I know that I think initially the 60 frames per second did throw off a number of things. It did make the situation a bit more complex for people who were very used to that 30 frames per second playstyle, but it works. And I mean, I do always prefer action games at 60 frames per second anyway, because they are just that bit more responsive and it works. But anyway, we have finished up the Enchanted Dominion. We've collected all the treasure chests that we're missing in the London departure. It's time to head onward to a new world. It's going to be very exciting, because after all, someday a new world will come. So subtle.